apart or more, perhaps even out towards the edge of the mat. Rolling the toes out towards the edges of the mat, rolling the knees out, just allowing the hips to open. So bringing the hands down by the side of you. Let's just turn the palms up. So you bring yourself into your posture of rest. So we're just going to try and connect with the body. So as you lie down onto the mat, just take a quick body check. So you're allowing the toes to roll out to the side, the ankles and knees. Just feeling the opening up in the front of the hips. And just checking out through each joint as you move through the body. Just trying to relax the legs down. Allow the back of the pelvis just to roll down onto the mat and the hips to open. And lengthening the spine out on the mat. Just releasing the lumbar spine or the thoracic spine down into the mat. Just keeping that natural curvature. Allowing the shoulder blades to roll out, the palms to face up, inner elbows up towards the sky. Start to bring your awareness onto the breath. Just taking a nice deep breath in. And as we exhale, let's just sigh the breath away and just relax everything down a little bit further. And just taking a couple of rounds of your own breath here. Just lengthening out the inhalation to around the count of 3. And extending the exhalation to a similar length. So you're just allowing the mind to calm. Bring yourself and your focus onto your mat and onto your practice. Just stilling the thoughts, leaving behind anything that doesn't need your attention for the next 3/4 of an hour. Let's slowly start to stretch out through the fingers. Let's just point and flex the toes. And then drawing the legs back towards each other. Let's just bend the right knee, draw the right knee into the chest. Just really hug it in nice and tight. So taking both hands around the leg. Then taking the left hand onto the right knee. Let's just roll that right knee out to the side. Cactus the right arm out, right palm facing up. Just gaze over towards that right shoulder. So you're taking a stretch on the outside edge of that right hip. And a twist into the mid-spine. And slowly drawing that back through center. Engage the back of the pelvis down. Let's start to straighten out through that left leg. You're lifting the left heel up towards the ceiling, flexing out through the left foot. Perhaps you grab behind the left thigh, or perhaps you grab behind the left calf, the right calf rather. So you're pushing the right sole of the foot up, lengthening out. Try and draw and straighten out through the knee. Keep the pelvis level onto the mat. The left leg's released down the mat. Doesn't really matter how far or how far up the leg comes towards the chest. What matters is you feel a stretch down the back of that right hamstring. So just take a few breaths here, just allowing that hamstring to open. With each inhalation, just gazing perhaps up towards the toes. And with each exhalation, just allowing the body to melt down in the mat, the hamstrings to soften. And just perhaps draw that leg a little bit further towards the chest. Now leaving the right hand onto the right leg, let's draw the left hand onto the belly. So engage through the pelvic floor, draw the navel into the spine, engage the transverse abdominals, which run hip bone to hip bone. Pushing that lumbar spine down onto the mat, let's just inhale, lift the head and shoulders off the mat, draw that chin towards that right shin or towards the right knee. You can perhaps then release the left hand up to meet the right. Make sure you're not clinging onto the leg. You're using the core to lift the head and shoulders. You should be able to leave the leg. So make sure that you're still breathing. You're pushing the lumbar spine down into the mat. Take a couple of breaths here. And slowly releasing the head and shoulders down towards the mat. Let's just bend through that right knee, draw the left knee in to meet it, and then lengthen the right leg away down the mat. So really hugging that left knee into the chest. Just pushing the lumbar spine down. Let's take the left knee into the right hand. Cactus that left arm out to the side. You rolling the left knee over to the right. Just take the gaze over that right shoulder. Just stretching to the outside edge of that left hip. Now let's gently start to draw that back through center. So again, we're going to straighten out through that left leg. You raising the left heel up towards the sky, perhaps grabbing behind the left shin or behind the left calf or behind the left thigh. Let's see if you can draw and straighten out through the knee. And lifting the heel up towards the ceiling, lengthening the spine out onto the mat. Let's take a few breaths here, just taking a nice hamstring stretch. So with each inhalation, just allow the back body just to melt down into the mat. And with each exhalation, just allowing that left hamstring just to soften, and perhaps you can draw that left leg a little bit nearer towards the chest. Now bringing the right hand onto the belly, pushing the lower belly down into the mat, engage the transverse abdominals and suck in through the pelvic floor. Let's inhale, lift the head and shoulders. So you're drawing the nose towards the knee. Perhaps you're bringing the right hand up to meet the left, but make sure you can leave the leg if you need to. So you're not clinging onto that leg for grim death. You're using the core to lift the head and shoulders off the mat. Let's take a few breaths here. Keeping the breath nice and long. Just controlling the exhalation. Now let's slowly release the head and shoulders down towards the mat. Let's bring both knees into the chest again. This time we're just going to take a quick happy baby. So you're going to bring the arms in between the legs and then wrapping the arms around the legs. You either grab hold of the outside edges of the calves, the ankles, or you take the hands onto the top of the feet. The soles are up towards the sky and you're just allowing the knees to track either side of the shoulders. So you perhaps may want to have a little gentle rock forward and back here. Try not to lift the back of the pelvis off the mat. You're just feeling an opening up through the groin area, but it's really good for the back. You're really pushing the lumbar spine down into the mat, all the way down to the sacrum. So this posture is particularly good for any lower back issues. Okay, slowly releasing the hands. Now let's draw the knees back in towards each other. You're sucking the knees in towards the chest. So you're trying to draw and engage the thighs onto the chest. So you're going to start to engage the core again. Push the lumbar spine down into the mat again, engage through the pelvic floor. Let's just release the hands either side of the feet, palms facing each other. So from here, we're going to inhale, lift the head and shoulders, draw the nose towards the knees, keep the legs sucked in towards the lower belly, engaging the core. Just have a few breaths here. So you feel the spine into the mat, the stomach's strong. You're still able to breathe and the head and shoulders are off the mat. Okay, so from here, still pushing out through the fingertips, lengthening out through the arms. Let's slowly release the legs down the mat. Keep and hover the legs off the mat. And you're into a low boat. As we exhale, let's draw the knees back into the chest, suck them into the lower belly, keep the head and shoulders off the mat. Inhaling, lengthening the legs away. Exhaling, drawing the knees into the chest. This time as we inhale, lengthen the legs away. Let's just point the toes, just keeping that strong into your low boat. Option to stay there or option to release the legs out, mat width apart. Exhale, draw them back to meet. Inhale, release them out, mat width apart. Exhale, draw them back. Last one, inhale, release out. Exhale, draw back. Now bringing the knees back into the chest. This time we're going to wrap the arms around the legs, hug that in nice and tight. And then releasing the head and shoulders down to the mat. Let's plant the feet down. So allowing the feet to be hip distance apart. Just about seeing if you can touch the heels. We're coming into our bridge. Planting down through the hands. Let's inhale, lift the hips up the mat. Push down through the palms of the hands, lift the hips up as high as possible. Perhaps you stay here, pushing into the heels, engaging the glutes, or perhaps you interlace the fingers behind the back. Draw the shoulder blades towards each other and see if you can lift the hips up a little higher. And try not to allow the knees to roll out, allow the knees to track forward. Perhaps the toes are slightly in and the heels are slightly out. So again, option to stay here. Or option to come with me. We're going to lift up through the right leg, flex that right foot up towards the sky, lengthen out through the kneecap. Then gently pushing the right heel away. We're going to slowly lower the right leg until the right knee aligns with the left. So you're pushing the leg out straight, you're pushing the heel towards the short edge of your mat. You're engaging the left glute, pushing up through the left heel. Eventually the right knee will align with the left knee. Then rebend the right knee, plant the right foot down onto the mat. Let's inhale, lift the hips up. Again, drawing the shoulder blades towards each other. Feel a stretch down the front of the body, but you're also taking a back bend. Now grounding down through the right foot. Let's lift the left leg up into the air, flex the left foot, draw the left toes back towards the face. Pushing down through that right heel, engaging the right glute. Let's lengthen that left leg away. So you're pushing out through the left heel, keeping the left leg straight. Just pushing that left foot towards the short edge of your mat. Just align the knees. Again, push out through that left heel, push up through the right heel. And then gently rebending that left leg. Again, let's push into the heels, engage the glutes, lift the hips as high as possible. And those of you who've interlaced the fingers behind the back, let's gently start to walk the hands away. And then just slowly wheel the spine down towards the mat. And just bringing the knees in towards the chest. Let's gently start to rock forward and back until eventually we rock up into seated. So now releasing the legs out in front of you. Just sitting forward with the sit bones. We're going to bring the hands down either side of the knees, perhaps tipping the hands down on the mat. Engage the core. Pointing out through the toes, we're going to see if we can inhale, lift the legs off the mat, keeping the fingertips engaged, engaging through the stomach, navel to spine. That's it, nice. Can we point the toes? Excellent. Okay, let's lower that halfway down. And then inhale, draw that back up. Inhaling halfway lower. Exhale, release to the sky. Last one. Inhale, halfway lower. Exhale, drawing that back up. Let's slowly release the legs all the way down to the mat. Just flexing out through the feet. Let's just hinge the body forward. So we start to walk the fingertips forward. Draw the thigh bones inside of the hips. Just gently folding down over the straight legs. See if you can flex out through the toes. Bring them back towards the face. That's it. Just taking a few breaths here. So we're lengthening out through the hamstrings. And let's slowly start to TP the hands back. So as you TP the hands back, let's just bend the knees, bring the feet down onto the mat. So the feet are hip distance apart. You're going to roll back onto the sit bones, grab behind the thighs. So you've got two sit bones, one tailbone. So you're creating that little triangle space and you're going to start to lift the legs up. Keep the core strong. So you make sure you're not rounding down through the spine. You're sitting up nice and tall, open up through the front of the chest. Perhaps you keep your hands onto the back of the legs, or perhaps you release your hands out at the side view. Palms facing each other. We're meeting into our Navasana or boat pose. Okay, keeping the core strong. Let's count here for 5, 1, sitting up nice and tall, keep the breath steady. 2, engage the core, navel to spine. 3, keep the pelvic floor active. Point the toes. 4, keep smiling, it's Sunday. And lowering that down on 5. Just bring the crown of the head onto the knees. Just arch out through the spine. Then gently drawing the gaze back. Let's just roll the legs over towards the left and let's meet into our tabletop. Spreading the fingers wide onto the mat, stacking the shoulders over the wrists. Let's just inhale to mobilize through the back. Dipping the spine down, tipping the tailbone up. As we exhale, let's just round the spine and tuck the head. Inhaling, gazing forward. Exhaling round. Now slowly drawing that back to a neutral spine. Let's just walk the hands very slightly forward. So as you hinge forward, draw the navel into the spine. Fingertips facing forward, inner elbows facing the short edge of your mat. So you're rolling those inner elbows in, leaving the hands where they are. Hinging forward so the shoulders are beyond the wrists now. Let's just lower that all the way down to the mat. So you're lowering all the way down onto the belly. Now bringing the hands forward, shoulders underneath, elbows underneath the shoulders. Let's just inhale, lift, and we're drawing that up into a Sphinx posture. So the fingertips are spread out on the mat, elbows are underneath the shoulders. You're allowing the lower belly just to track down to the mat, resting the pubic bone down. Take the gaze ahead. Perhaps this may feel okay and you want to stay here, or perhaps you may want to deepen the posture. If you want to work deeper into the posture, perhaps we start to straighten out through the arms. Again, gaze is forward. You want to feel an arching into the spine, but not a pinching. So you're just introducing into a back bend. Let's take a few breaths here. Just encouraging a full range of motion into the spine. Now just very slowly, let's start to lower the elbows down to the mat. So you're going to lower all the way down now. Rest the chest onto the mat. Bring the hands back. Allow the hands to touch either the side of the hips or the top of the thighs. Draw the toes in, the heels are out, the gaze is down. As we inhale, we're going to lift either the head and shoulders or lift the head, shoulders and legs. So as we inhale, engaging the muscles that run down the spine. So they run either side of the full spine. You're going to use those muscles to lift the head and shoulders and lift the legs off the mat. The toes are in, the heels are out. Make sure you're gazing down, so you're not trying to gaze up and quick through the neck. Just hold it here. You should be able to breathe normally. Keeping the breath nice and long and strong. Just feel that, those muscles working into the spine. And then when you're ready, let's slowly release that down to the mat. So there's the option to go back to that variation, or there's the option to come into a bow pose. So we bend the legs, draw the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling, grab behind, grabbing from the outside of the ankles. You're going to push the feet and hands into each other, and then inhale, lift. So option to go back to your locust pose, or option to take bow. As we inhale again, engaging the muscles into the spine, push the hands and feet into each other, lift. You should be resting onto the lower belly, resting onto the pubic bone. Perhaps you take the gaze a little bit further forward, taking a nice deep back bend. Now slowly starting to lower that down to the mat. As you lower down to the mat, let's take the hands underneath the shoulders, lifting and sucking the lower belly off the mat. We're just going to tuck the toes, inhale, lift that all the way up to where we got it from. And just lower the bottom now back towards the heels and meet into a child pose. So you're just counter posing to the back here. You're arching the back up towards the sky. Just have a couple of breaths here. Just sinking the crown of the head or the forehead down towards the mat. Now gently walking the hands over towards the left. Sorry, over towards the right. You're going to take the left hand on top of the right, stretch out through the sideways. So you push out through the left fingertips, push back through the left sit bones, and just stretch out all the way down the left side of the body. Now let's gently start to TP the hands back to centre. As we reach centre, just stretch out. Walk the fingertips away, push back, the heels back, the bottom back towards the heels. And then let's slowly walk that over to the left. So this time planting the right hand on top of the left, push back through the right sit bone, push out through the right fingertips, stretch out through the sideways. Again, slowly bringing that back to centre as you reach centre. Push out through the fingertips, push back through the sit bones. Then let's slowly start to walk the hands back. And we're just going to meet into kneeling. So, we're working toward a Yogalasana, which is a lift. You're going to take the hands mid-thigh, spread the fingers wide onto the mat. So option one is just to engage the core, lift the knees off the mat, rest onto the top of the toes. Option two is to really lift the knees up, lift the hips up towards the sky, perhaps you lift one foot, lift the other. And option three is to lift everything off the mat altogether. Okay, so you can take the variation of your choice. So as you take the hands forward, just make sure that the chest is around 45 degrees off those thighs. Engage the core, suck in through the pelvic floor. We're going to hold this here for 5. So pushing down through the hands, let's inhale, lift this up. That's counting 1. Keep the core strong. 2. Inner elbows facing the short edge of the mat. 3. Sucking everything in. 4. And 5. Lowering that back down. Perhaps you bring the hands out in front, interlace the fingers, just roll out through the wrists slightly, just to release any tension. So you should feel that strong into the core. Okay, now keeping the hands down onto the mat, let's just inhale, lift, separate the knees out, hip distance apart. So just coming into our camel posture. Option 1 is to take the hands onto the back. So you take the hands, full palm of the hand onto the back. You're going to push the hips forward, start to arch the spine. So you're moving the hips forward, opening the heart up towards the sky. If the neck's okay, allow the head to drop. You want to feel a nice deep stretch down the front of the legs. You're taking your back bend. Or option 2, if you prefer, is to tuck the toes. Perhaps you bring the hands back towards the heels. You're still going into the same posture. You're just pushing the hips forward, open the heart up towards the sky. Again, if the neck's okay, allow the head to drop. You just have a couple of breaths here. Carry on moving the hips forward. Imagine somebody's got a little string and pulling the heart upwards. Now gently bringing the gaze back if you've released the neck. Let's slowly start to release that all the way back. We're going to meet that back into our child's pose. So again, releasing the forehead down towards the mat, so you're just counterbalancing to the back. Release the hands out in front of you. Bring the palms of the hands together. Then bending the elbows, we're going to bring the thumbs over the back of the neck and just walk the elbows forward. So you feel a stretch out into the triceps. So with each inhalation, see if you can walk those elbows a little bit further. And with each exhalation, just pushing the bottom back towards the heels. Okay, slowly releasing the hands. Let's just start keeping the hands back. Okay, so we're going into our second Yogalasana now. So, taking the hands down by the side of you, hinging forward 45 degrees off the thighs. Engage the navel into the spine, suck in through the pelvic floor. So, option 1 is just to lift the knees a little bit. Option 2 is to really lift the knees, or option 3 is to lift everything. So again, I'm counting here for 5. So keeping the core strong. Let's inhale, lift up, hold it here. Engage the core, engage the pelvic floor, there's 1. Inner elbows to face the short edge of the mat, there's 2. Keep everything sucked in. 3. Keep breathing and smiling. 4. See if we can lift a little higher. And 5. Lowering that back down to the mat, that's it. Interlace the fingers, let's just roll back through the wrists. That's it, nice. Perfect. Okay, now separating the knees out again, hip distance apart. Let's just raise up onto the knees. Let's just walk the hands out ahead of us. So the thumbs are together. You're spreading the fingers wide. You're stacking the hips over the knees and you're stretching out through the tops of the shoulders. So inch the fingertips away. Allow the heart to melt down towards the mat. Perhaps you're resting onto the forehead. Just have a few breaths here. Nice shoulder stretch. And let's gently start to walk the hands back now. Let's just bring ourselves back into all fours. Just inhaling, gazing forward, dip the spine down. As we exhale, let's just round the spine. Now planting the right hand down in front of us, the right knee, you're going to lengthen that left leg away. So we're coming into what's called a kneeling side plank. So the right hand, right knee, left foot are all in one nice long straight line. You're going to roll that left hand all the way overhead, push out to the sideways. So you're lifting that left hip bone up towards the sky. Perhaps you stay here, or perhaps you lift up through the left leg, point the left toes. That's it, really lift the left sideways. Use the oblique muscles. So you can lift that all the way up. Excellent. Now slowly releasing the left leg down. Let's take that straight to the other side. So you're planting the left hand down, left knee. You're lengthening out through the right leg. Let's draw that right arm all the way up. Roll that overhead palm facing down. Pushing up through the right hip. Perhaps you lift up through that right leg. Just engaging your oblique muscles. Pushing up from the underneath side waist. Now slowly releasing the right hand down to the mat. Let's just release that right knee and knee back into our tabletop. Now releasing the elbows down. You're going to stack the elbows underneath the shoulders. Spread the fingers wide onto the mat. We're going to lengthen the toes away and meet into our forearm plank. Push out through the heels. Engage the quadriceps. Make sure that the bottom's not up too high and not down too low. So don't allow the hips to sink. So we're going to roll onto the outside edge of the right foot. Roll onto the right elbow and release the left elbow up towards the sky. That's it, nice. So as we inhale, we're going to thread that left arm underneath the right. And then as we exhale, we're releasing the fingertips up towards the ceiling. Inhale, threading through, looking good from here. Exhaling, drawing that back. Last one. Inhale, thread that through, really push up that left hip. Push out through the underneath of the waist. Exhale, lengthen that left arm up. Let's see if we can draw that all the way back into our forearm plank. Pushing out through the heels, engaging the core. Make the quadriceps work. Going straight to the left side. Let's roll onto the outside edge of that left foot. Let's sweep the right hand all the way up to the sky. So you're pushing that right hip up. Engage the muscles underneath the left side. As we inhale, let's thread the right arm underneath the left. Exhaling, we're going to lengthen that away. Inhale, thread that through. Exhale, let's draw that back. Last one. Inhale, threading through. Really working the underneath muscles on the left side of the body. Exhale, releasing the right hand up to the sky. Let's release the right hand down to the mat. Release the right elbow. Let's meet back in our forearm plank. Take a nice deep breath in here. Exhaling, pushing out through the heels. And slowly lowering the knees down to the mat. Separate the knees, hip width apart. Let's just walk the hands out mat width. This time we're coming into a puppy pose with the arms out at shoulder height or more. So you want to inch the fingertips diagonally away. Stack the hips over the knees. Allow the heart to melt down towards the mat. And just stretch out through the top of the shoulders. Just taking a couple of breaths here. Now slowly starting to walk the hands back. We're going to plant the hands down on the mat, roll the inner elbows to face the short edge of the mat, tucking in through the toes. We're going to lift and hold that into a high plank now. So stack the shoulders over the wrists, keep the core strong, activate the quadriceps. So again, now rolling onto the outside edge of that right foot. There's always the option to lower the right knee down to the mat if you need to. We're going to lift that left arm up towards the sky. That's it, nice. Okay, we're going threading again. We're going to inhale, thread that left arm underneath the right. Exhale, push that left hip up to the sky, pushing the left fingertips up. Inhaling, threading through. Try and follow the hand with the eyes. Exhale, lengthen that away. Last one. Inhale, threading through. Exhaling, lengthen. Really push the left hip up so you can create a banana shape, the underneath side of the body. And then releasing the left hand down to the mat. Let's meet back in a high plank. Again, pushing out through the core, engage the quadriceps. Let's see if we can roll onto the outside edge of the left foot now, releasing the right hand up to the sky. Create that banana shape, the underneath of the body. Inhaling, threading that right arm underneath the left. Exhaling, lengthen that away. Let's see if you can follow the hands with the eyes. Inhale, thread that through, gaze back to the right fingertips. Exhale, gaze upwards. Last one, inhaling, threading through. Exhaling, lengthen. Let's release the right hand down to the mat now. Meet back into our plank. Now lowering the knees down to the mat. Let's release the bottom back towards the heels. This time you're going to release the back of the hands onto the soles of the feet and just meet into your full child's pose. Just allow the forehead to rest down on the mat and the spine to arch up to the sky. Just reconnect with the breath. Now inhaling, gazing forward. Let's exhale, release. Let's slowly start to draw that all the way up. Oh, there's fireworks going off. Let's release the legs out in front of us and just give the legs a shake. I don't know what we've done to deserve that. It's not firework there, is it? Okay, so coming back in Shinavasana. So we're going to strengthen the pose from here. So bringing the hands, you always want to start with a good position. So if you bring the hands onto the back of the thighs, you just get that connection with the two sit bones and the tailbone. So you roll out onto the two sit bones, onto the tailbone, engage the core, bring the navel into the spine, and just gradually lift the feet off the mat. As you release the feet off the mat, really suck that core in, make sure you're not feeling into the spine. So, okay, this time we can either stay here in Anavasana where we release the hands out, palm width, palms facing each other, or perhaps we try and straighten out through the legs now and point the toes. We're going to hold it here for 5, keep the core strong, so there's 1. Just take the gaze towards the toes, sit up nice and tall, 2. Palms facing each other, keep the arms active, 3. Drawing the chest upwards, 4. And 5. Let's just lower that down. As you lower down, perhaps bring the head towards the knees, just round out through the spine. Okay, we're going to take one more round in Navasana, just bringing in a different dynamic. So re-engaging the hands onto the back of the thighs. Let's raise the toes up. Bring the knees towards each other. Perhaps releasing the hands, palms facing each other. Perhaps we straighten out through the legs. This time we're going to bring the heels in and the toes out. So you're making Charlie Chaplin feet with the feet. That's it, you're really engaging into the hip flexors here. So we're going to count. Here's 1. Keep everything strong, draw the chest up. 2. So you can gaze up towards the sky. 3. Keep the legs strong. 4. Allow those toes to roll out. And 5. Just lowering that down to the mat. Again, just bringing the head onto the knees, just arching out through the spine. Okay. So let's slowly start to draw that all the way down to the mat. So you're bringing the knees in with you. Just releasing the back down into the mat. We're going to straighten out now through the legs. We're going to draw the hands onto the lower belly. So if you draw the hands onto the belly, you're sucking in through the pelvic floor, drawing the navel into the spine, engaging the transverse abdominals. So option 1 is to lower one leg at a time, or option 2 is to lower both legs. So engage in the core. Let's slowly as possible try and lower the legs down. So you're pushing the heels away. Use the hands onto the belly to make sure that you can feel that your stomach is working. Just gently pushing the heels away, gradually starting to lower the legs down to the mat. As the legs go down, try not to allow them to touch the mat. So you're releasing the legs down till they're about 6 inches off the mat. And then gradually drawing the knees into the chest and just reconnecting. So you need to reconnect with the pelvic floor, draw that in, draw the navel in, try and engage the lumbar spine down into the mat, again, straightening out through the legs. Keep the core very strong. If you lowered one leg last time, lower the opposite leg this time, otherwise go with both legs. Push the heels away, try and keep the legs straight, engage the navel into the spine. Just make sure that the core's working. You can use your hands to feel the activation. Just slowly pushing out through both legs as slowly as possible, lowering them down towards the mat. Keep pushing out through the heels. That's closing the eyes or gazing up towards the ceiling. So when the feet are about 6 inches off the mat, let's just draw the knees into the chest. And again, just give this a nice hook. So we're now just going to finish with, there's a couple of poses I wanted to show you. We're going to finish with cat pulling tail, which I think we've done before, but it's quite a gentle twist. So you bring the knees into the chest, you bring the arms up at shoulder height, so the palms are facing up towards the ceiling. You're going to allow the knees just to roll over towards the right, and you immediately take the gaze left. So that's option 1. Option 2 is to start to straighten out through that left leg, which is your top leg, and you're drawing it up towards the right hand. Whatever you're doing, you're making sure that the inside of that left foot is resting down onto something. So it needs to either rest down onto the floor or the mat beside you. If it reaches up towards the right hand, then you're keeping the right palm facing up and you're grabbing hold of the inside of that left foot with the right hand. You're still gazing over the left shoulder. The final variation in this posture is to start to inch that right leg back, which is your bottom leg. And then you slowly bring the left hand down to meet it. So again, you're grabbing hold of the right foot with the left hand. The left palm is facing up. You're rolling that left shoulder blade out on the mat, and you're keeping the gaze over that left shoulder. So it's called cat pulling tail, this posture. It's a yin posture. You actually look like you've been thrown out of an aeroplane from above. You feel a nice stretch in to the the left IT band. You might feel a stretch into the right quad. And you're twisting into the spine, plus opening up through the chest. So just take a few breaths here. Just inching that left shoulder blade down towards the mat. Okay, so whichever variation of that posture you've taken, let's gradually start to bring everything back into the midline. So you're pushing the lumbar spine down into the mat, you're drawing the knees into the chest, perhaps you hug the knees in tight now, and have a little gentle rock round onto the lower spine into the mat. Then releasing the arms out again at shoulder height, palms facing up. Allow the shoulder blades to roll out onto your mat. Let's just lower the legs over towards the left. So again, you may just want to stay here, just take the gaze over that right shoulder, back towards the right hand. You may wish to straighten out the right leg, which is your top leg, and draw the right hand towards the left palm. Make sure the inside of that right foot's resting down onto the floor and up beside you. Perhaps you may want to inch that left leg back. So as you inch the left leg back, you may bring the right hand down to meet it, perhaps resting the top of that left foot into the right hand. Just rolling that right shoulder blade out, gazing over that right shoulder. So you're feeling into the left of the right IT band. You're twisting into the spine, opening up through the front of the chest. Perhaps even getting a quad stretch on the left side. And slowly starting to bring everything back to center again. Let's bring the knees into the chest. Just hook the knees in nice and tight. And then if you need to take a little bit of movement into the lumbar spine, onto the mat, perhaps make some circles or rock side to side or forward and back. So now finishing with a supported bridge. So if you've got a bolster handy or a cushion, or even you could use a block if you've got yoga blocks as so, you want to bring the bolster underneath. It's where your sacrum is. So it's the back of the pelvis. So you're going to rest the sacrum, which is the knobbly bit of the back of the pelvis, onto either a block, a brick, rolled up towel, or something similar. So it's slightly lower than the waistband on the high waistbanded leggings. So as you rest that down onto the mat, clamp the feet down, hip distance apart, bending the knees. So that's option one. Option two is to release the arms overhead, draw the back of the hands onto the mat or floor behind you with the palms facing up. So you're rolling the shoulder blades out, releasing and opening up through the front of the chest. And option three is just to lengthen the legs away. So you're just resting the entire back of the pelvis onto your prop. You're stretching out through the tops of the hips. So you're stretching out through the hip flexors. You might feel a stretch out through the belly, depending on how big your prop is. You're also releasing the shoulder blades down, opening up through the front of the chest, just allowing those shoulder blades to roll down onto the mat. So this is a really nice posture that you could probably hold for around 3 to 5 minutes. Just helps you open up through the hip flexors, but you're equally taking a back bend at the same time, without realizing it. So just allow yourself to relax down onto the mat. So if you've released the legs out, let's gradually start to walk the feet back up the mat. So you're going to walk the feet up to the near end of your prop. Bring the hands back in, draw the elbows down onto the mat. Just lift the hips up a little higher and just remove whatever prop you've used. And then gently wheeling the spine down towards the mat. As you wheel the spine down, really try and roll out through the whole spine, release it down onto the mat. Again, perhaps drawing the knees in towards the chest. And if you need a little bit of movement, perhaps a gentle rock side to side, hugging those knees in tight. Just release any tension into the back. And then slowly lengthening the legs away. We're going to meet into our Shavasana. So you're just releasing the feet out, mat width apart again. We're just back to where we started. You're allowing the toes to roll out to the side. You're allowing the ankles and knees to roll out. Just releasing the back of the pelvis down. Just with the hands down by the side of you with the palms facing up. Just allow the shoulder blades to roll out onto the mat and just feel an opening up through the front of the chest. Just keeping the integrity of the spine and lengthening to the back of the neck. Just allow the eyes to close. The focus to go inward. Just reconnecting with the breath. Okay, so when you're ready, let's slowly start to make a little bit of movement into the ankles and the toes. And gently stretch the fingers open and perhaps roll the wrists. Just gently starting to walk the feet back towards each other. Let's just draw the soles of the feet onto the mat. And as you inch the feet up the mat, really push the lumbar spine down into the mat. Eventually drawing the knees into the chest, bring the head up towards the knees, make yourself into a little ball. Just slowly rocking side to side. And let's gradually start to rock that over towards the right. And just pushing out through the left hand. Let's gradually start to inch ourselves up into seated. So as you come into seated, just bring your hands into heart center, keeping your eyes closed if you can. Just always give yourself gratitude for your practice. Be glad you spared time for yourself and you spent it on creating some stillness with the body, mind, and connecting with the breath. Be amazed at what your bodies can achieve. Applaud your successes and never focus on your failures. Thank you very much for letting me guide you tonight. Namaste.
Namaste.